A fierce fight unfolded in the forest. She used magic and then struck a powerful blow to his fist. Meanwhile, the man thought, everyone who was called eventually found themselves in this city. Until recently, he did not believe in such. One was a regular schoolgirl. He walked to the house standing straight in the woods and began to knock on the door, calling the owner loudly. There is a special home in this world named Delsky Fahrenheit. Here, like everywhere around, there is a profession such as magicians perform various tasks and take up a variety of work. Opening the door, she greeted with a guy standing on the doorstep. He was called Kenan, and he joked that in the morning time it had passed. Kenan immediately noticed that a mess reigned again in the dells. He just waved for this, saying that he was now terribly busy and he has no deeds to other people's remarks. Talking to Kenan, he mentioned that the guy was really very decent. At this point, Dells noticed a girl behind his back. According to his habit, Dells has always tried to avoid risky things. He immediately felt something wrong and pushed Ken to the side. It's time to close the door and order them to leave this place immediately. Ken was confused. He did not understand why Dell did so and demanded explanations. But Dell only replied that he was glad for Ken, because he finally found a girl. However, he considered her home and introduced her to all the mistake. However, Kenan immediately denied the words of Dell and categorically stated that this girl was not his beloved. And in general, it was not the topic he wanted to talk about. Kenan reported Delau that even this morning it was not going anywhere, as well as previous days. It is already tired of it. Once in this world, Dell settled in Japan. After the forced resettlement, he had to overcome a lot of difficulties, and in the end, he began to lead a calm, closed life of the average hermit. He hesitated for a long time, but eventually opened the door. He invited him to return. What was the purpose of his visit? He said that the case concerned the girl standing behind him. But it was obvious. She was in trouble. To confirm this, she removed the hood. Her dark hair was visible, a real rarity in this world. The last one who agreed to take her to the students was Deltz, although he did not feel much delight. Welcome to the performance. She said that Harun finally came to her senses. All others have long got acquainted with their characteristics and abilities. And Harun did not understand anything. What are the indicators and skills of the Toka? Chien a tsu. She explained that all classmates are here now. They were preparing for classes in the club, as they suddenly found themselves in this place, just in the heart of the call. The girls were quite concerned because Harun never went away. She said she had to replace someone in a football club, and when she needed, she suddenly felt that she started swimming everything before her eyes. She said she was okay now because Harun has woke up. Haruna's performance was terribly interested, but Harun herself still did not understand what it was about. The man approached them in a strange outfit and suggested to explain everything. He introduced himself as Joseph, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Adelheid. The man explained that they were called here not by accident. Each of them has a great potential to become heroes. In this world, there are many evil magical creatures, and they are able to defeat them, and later overcome the owner of darkness. Joseph was convinced that they have a path to great accomplishments. Joseph noted that everyone has already shown their abilities. For example, TCA has started its journey in this world as a combat class, from the 5th level. Other group members also had a level above the 4th and were worthy of admiration for skills. Those who appeared in this world with the 4th level had a great chance of gaining incredible peaks. They could be considered real heroes without exaggeration. Her classmates did not hide their admiration. Everyone was courteous to find out what profession and what features she got. After all, it is well known, where Harun does not direct her effort, she achieves impressive results everywhere. Matsu warned Harun to be careful. All this resembles some sect because their whole group seems to be under hypnosis. Harun agrees. The atmosphere seems unnatural, causing anxiety. She put Haruni's hand on her shoulder and asked hard to demonstrate her abilities as soon as possible. At the same time, she boasted that she has started her trip in the new world from the 5th level. It was full of curiosity about Haruna's features. It was said that even before getting into another world, it achieved brilliant results in various fields. So it really had every chance of becoming a heroine. So she was presented with a divine stone that helped to determine her own characteristics. Everyone was waiting for Harun to show his characteristics. She took a divine stone in her hands, and he immediately shone with a bright light. She cheered Harun to hurry, because she was impatient to know her characteristics. Hearing this, Haruna assured that she would not delay. Characteristics began to appear on the stone. Everyone was extremely surprised to see. Harun asked something, but Del suddenly interrupted her story. After scratching his back, he nodded and assured that he understood everything. She did not understand what he was talking about, because Del missed the most important thing in her story. His attention was somewhere far away, so he did not hear anything important. Del never answered her question. He just grunted that he would have to clean old Joseph Smith again. Everything was already clear. It became clear that Harun was weak, although it was expected to be completely different. Classmates began to make fun of her, and later despise. In addition, Joseph was very disappointed in it, although it was his fault, because he called others to do a dirty work instead. He sent Harun to Del, saving his own skin, and now had to rake the consequences of this decision. Looking at Kennan's surprised face, he asked whether he was not mistaken. Kennan confirmed that everything was the same as Del. He added that he probably turned to the group leader, but she immediately reinforced everyone. Del asked Kennel if he was really going to listen to her orders. The answers did not sound. Kennel seemed to simply ignore the question. He replied that the leader of their group was a true horror. He is simply not able to interfere with her orders. Dels realized that while the leader of the detachment, along with his subordinates, enhanced the hero's abilities, Kennan was trying to solve the problem with all his might. Dels could not believe that they were seriously going to move the whole class to another world. It seemed to him true madness. Therefore, he asked Harun to show his divine sphere to check its characteristics. Harun and others have already froze in anticipation, thinking that Del agreed to fulfill their request. However, he only advised them to rush and think about everything properly. He explained that he did not promise to become her teacher. He just wanted to get acquainted with her characteristics. Then Harun stretched out the stone of the goddess, clamping him in his palm. A person can only view their characteristics. The goddess stone is an artifact that allows you to see their own performance to the one who holds it. Everyone who gets into this world receives it, and he shows the characteristics and profession of man. Everyone who finds itself here is given the blessing of God, but it was shocked that Haruna is so small. Bruno was a first-level magician. It had no special abilities, and all its characteristics, except magic, were equal to 1. She could not believe what it was possible. Its characteristics were worse even than ordinary girls from the village. According to the canon, Joseph thought the same. Del has resigned itself to the fact that its abilities are not worth the egg. Assuming that she will become his student, what would she want to achieve? How is a simple rural girl? Whether she dreams of winning the respect of the environment, or as Joseph noted, she wants to participate in the battle with the owner of darkness. Does Haruna seek revenge because of the ridicule of friends? She replied that she wanted to grind their bones into powder. Bells was amazed by such an answer. It was full of delight in the thought of what would happen when she returns to them. She must have the appearance of a person who has surpassed them all. She thought it would be perfect if they rushed and begged for revenge. In her soul, she feels that this is how everything will happen. She said she finally chose the path of revenge, but Harun perceived it quite differently. For her, it was more fun than a real purpose. From childhood, she sought to defeat strong rivals. Despite the fact that she remained almost unknown, she constantly participated in various competitions. In each of these competitions, she suddenly showed incredible results. In the last world, she was incredibly famous and popular, and her life has recently overshadowed only one disappointment. It was the perfect opportunity for her. Now everyone who once laughs at her peculiarities, except for the girlfriend of the Chainatsu, will feel all the power of her revenge. She will beat them until they browned and then laugh out loud with them. He realized what Harun wanted, and noted that she was quite interesting. Haruna was already glowing with joy, thinking that Del intends to invite her to become his student. Wills, on the contrary, said he was not even going to take Harun to students. Such words were quite surprised by Harun and Kenan. He noted that he acknowledges that Haruns have interesting and ambitious features. However, there is no benefit for him now. He is busy with other cases. Harun wanted to assure that she was ready for everything, but she was interrupted by Kenan. Dalov should be looking at the girl when she says such things. But Harun must understand that in the evening you should not say that you cannot do it. Del grabbed Kenan by his head and asked that he had just slammed. She interrupted them, saying that she could do all the homework: clean, wash, go shopping, and especially cook. Her brothers from that world always pleased her dishes. Haruna advised her to think about this idea well. After all, with a teacher like Adele, she will only ruin her life, she added. After these words, Del clenched his fists even more and indignantly called her fool. He said Haruni that she presents herself, but his workouts are very harsh. In addition, Harun promised to take on all household chores. With such a schedule, she will not even be written in time. Haruna really agreed to it, although she made the decision for a long time. She is ready to work hard to achieve her goal. May it stand in front of her, she overcomes it with all her strength. The couple always moves forward. It is her life credo. She is convinced that hard work is sure to lead to glory. Only one thought was in her head. For a moment it seemed to him that something incomprehensible. But within a second, the look and facial expression turned to normal in her empty, bottomless eyes. He asked Haruna how often she said so naively. She answered with a smile that quite often, because it is really naive, stupid. Her inexhaustible optimism forced Della Cunning to smile. He said that it suits it. He is ready to take Harun as a student. It was incredibly surprised by Harun. She did not expect Del to agree to her proposal so quickly. Del gently stroked Harun on his head, approving her answer. However, he immediately changed his mood and took his words back. "Get ready to work hard all week," he warned. "I will follow you closely for you all this time." And he also recalled that the workout will help Haruni become stronger, and possibly one day surpassing classmates. Haruna is determined and can help with household chores. He agrees to shelter her, but so far only for some time. If in a week her desire to surpass classmates goes out, Harun will go to the city. Thanks to her appearance and good health, it will be easy to find a job. At the same time, he asked the Del to be less mysterious, for which he immediately got a blow to the face. Today he learned a lot about the canon, including what thought he really is. She asked Dels to allow her to introduce to him again. Dels wasn't mind. Although the conditions in which he lives and leave much to be desired, they will now be able to see constantly. Bells should also be introduced. His name is Dels Fahrenheit. He is very talented in his business and as well as Harun, is a magician. Harun can call him like she liked. The girl decided to turn to Del's teacher, and this thought was extremely pleased with her. Her turn to introduce. Her name is Katsuragi Harun. Haru in her name means that she always tries something new, and therefore, is not afraid to experiment. Gele asked Karuns how much she was ready to try. She makes every effort. She answered Hella that she would make every effort. Then Gel noted that she would like to offer her workout right now, but first she should highlight the room for her. One of the rooms earlier belonged to a free veil, so Haruni would have to be removed, after which she will be able to settle there. The girl was clear, but the road to the room is blocked by real books. She should definitely put in order there. He said he would just call her Haru because it is difficult to say the full name. Harun did not deny. Della still has a lot of reports, so it's time to take the case. Finally, the time has come. Del quickly noticed that Haruna was actually doing well with household chores. He helped her a little, but within half a day the dwelling shined with cleanliness. Perhaps the student will not come out of her, but the hostess from Haruna is first class. Coming out of his shower, he thanked Della for his hospitality. At that moment, Del assured himself that he had no feelings to Haruna, because it could ruin the reputation of the whole team. However, it is difficult for him to hide his interest in her, and she stated that she was going to cook lunch and asked Della where he stores the products. He answered her that she was mostly eating ready-made food. Haru and Reproach noted that she was not suitable, and she promised to go tomorrow before training. He could not believe that all these dishes on the table had prepared it. Thanks to Haruni, he remembered that there were also rice, eggs, and tar in this world. Belle tried food, and was pleasantly impressed with her taste. Haruna noted that he did not grab dishes from the table prematurely. Ragi Harun unexpectedly, along with her classmates, found herself in this world, or more precisely, in the magical kingdom Adelheid. However, all her comrades were endowed with much greater abilities than herself, whose level did not go beyond a simple village girl. The authorities have translated the care of Harun on the shoulders of the Della, and now she became his student. Del confessed to Haruni that he really did not expect how skilled the mistress she would be. He wanted to tell her about the training while eating, but Harun had already had time. She really wanted to return to the practical part of the workout as soon as possible. But Bells asked to give him peacefully, and in the meantime he advised Haruni to repeat the theory. It turned out that the training was not at all as Harun imagined. She thought that the classes should harden both the body and the spirit, but Bells just waved. She said, she is a witch. She does not need such training at all. But Harun insisted that she wanted to become a warrior, and even asked if he could somehow change her profession. In response, Bells reproached that such words were a real image for a magic teacher. Harun immediately apologized for her carelessness. Therefore, Haruni should master all the knowledge about features. In addition to obtaining a new body, it also receives a divine blessing. He is now available to the language of this world, and he can view his characteristics. The profession of character, basic features, and skills are reflected. With each new level, to develop skills, you should gain experience in each individual. The skills can be selected manually, and the number of slots available for them is determined by the level of profession. It is worth noting, skills that can be remembered regardless of. After learning this news, Haruni boiled everything inside. Del was quickly understood. The theory is Haruna's main weakness. Haruna always found herself at the end of the test results, but she liked to be on the move. Gel mentally noted that there is nothing to be proud of such a feature. Haruna shone when she found out that after lunch they would go to practical classes. After Harun washed the dishes and dressed in a sports uniform she brought from the palace, she headed to the garden, where he finally began the desired practical activity. Haruna moved to class and noted that they had already departed a considerable distance from home. Inquiring to the Dela where his garden is located, Haruna learned that the whole terrain around is a garden. It turned out that they are far from the castle, and there is no longer any housing. The territory is enclosed by a magical barrier. It is difficult to get here, and the sounds do not come out. A real perfect place for training. They finally got here. The Del explained that it was in this garden of Harun that new skills were mastering. For Haruna, it was a real surprise. The Del noted that in fact, Harun would only learn how to raise her levels. After all, she likes practice than theory. Harun was delighted. She acknowledged that it was true, and sincerely thanked the Del for the opportunity. Del made jokingly that she was in full despair, but heard her prayers. Going to the main thing, the Del asks Garen, which style of martial arts would fit her most, and she stated that she was fully confident in her abilities in the martial arts. Garuna would have chosen a hand-to-hand fight without hesitation. After a short reflection, Del decided that a hand-to-hand fight could be excluded. It surprised Garun. She wondered if she could do so at all, because she only had 2 slots. In addition, if you choose a skill that is not related to magic, it can adversely affect the future. I explained to her that Harun should choose a magical skill, so 1 slot should be left for him. However, since it is confident in the martial arts, it should continue to develop its strengths. She immediately understood everything, opened the characteristics window, and added the skill of hand-to-hand combat in a free slot. Wants them to test her skill in action. She should focus as much as possible and gradually dive into consciousness. It is said that the experience helps to increase the level of skills. Targery workout does not produce results. You will not deceive the real skills. It is impossible to instantly increase the level of skill. The battle without weapons obeys the same principles as fencing with a sword. If you focus on strokes and persistently repeat them, it is quite possible to achieve certain results. Already with the first blow to Haruna appeared the information panel, and she immediately called the teacher. She reported to Dlao that her level of ownership of melee rose to the other. However, he did not believe her words. He asked Harun to give him her divine stone. He was interested in looking at her current characteristics. During the check, he came across a feature with 2 aspects. Her level really rose to the second. No matter how cool, it happened extremely quickly. I asked Haruna how it turned out, but Harun herself could not explain. She simply struck a normal blow. She couldn't believe her ears. Usually, to increase the level of skill, you need to spend a dozen sparring or visit a real battle, but you can definitely not make progress with a regular attempt. I was surprised. It was so much the workout. This applies not only to martial arts. It seems that she is convinced that in a real battle, you should always win. To win, Harun is ready to lay out on 100. It is defeated. But this only adds determination. It will persistently strive for revenge, becoming stronger with every attempt. After all, this feeling is incredibly pleasant. If you do not put on the full, it will not make any sense. I was struck by this side of Haruna. It acts daily on the verge without sparing either itself or its nerves. She noted that in addition to hand-to-hand combat, she also increased significantly auxiliary characteristics: endurance, strength, and health. I was amazed at such an incredibly rapid progress. It turns out that the week could end much earlier. She said she would train until dinner, and then, after a short rest, continue the class. From now on, he officially recognizes her with his student. She could not believe it and was overwhelmed by the excitement. He said that while she was training, he lies in the shade to rest. Haruna continued to exercise tirelessly. In a few hours, Haruna's workout finally ended. He looked carefully at Haruna Divine Stone and was sincerely impressed. She really turned out to be an extremely interesting person. He asked her if she liked her workout. Haruna replied that every time she began to move, she was covered by an unrestrained rage. After such a workout, she seems that she is able to roll the mountains. It's an extremely exciting feeling. On the sacred stone it was engraved. Its level of melee increased by the 17th. Dels could not believe that she had rose so high in half a day. To rise to so many levels, you need to constantly destroy the goals of monsters from morning to evening. And even then, there is no guarantee that you will get such a result. He again applied therapeutic magic on Harun, and once again wondered how much it really captivates. After healing, Haruna's body became surprisingly easy. It felt new. Belle decided that the workout should be completed today and suggested to return. At home, she still has to put herself and eat, and then Belle will solemnly declare her student. Haruna was shocked that everything happened so easily and quickly. She liked that the probationary term was shortened, but it did not seem serious. But Belle just smiled and said he joked. True acceptance in students is not just words. One recognition is not enough. He decided to take advantage of the special skill that was accessible to him. The status window appeared in front of Harun. A window with a choice appeared before Dels: to become a student. He explained that this is not quite a gift for farewell, rather a kind of rite of dedication for a future student. This skill is something like a contract, but even if it refuses, it will still teach it. Dels asked Haruna, asking, "What does she choose?" Fleece did not even hesitate. Her choice was obvious. She agreed unconditionally. When answering the Della, Fleece noted that therefore it is not necessary to make such a facial expression. It may look a little naive, but the Del having a good soul, it feels right away. He noted in surprise the word she used, and assured that she was not at all like a dog. Quite the opposite. Haruna answered with a smile that she was more like a cat. In the world, when you gain experience, you first master the basic skills, and over time, you understand and new ones. This is the way the teacher and the student got. Honestly, in his youth, he had no idea that he would once benefit from this gift. But this moment came, and he moved him deeply. Now he saw his student in this girl. She was about to go wash and asked Dels if he wanted to rub her back. At that moment, Dels realized that he may have chosen the wrong person in his students. Haruna said she wanted to get to know the world better and does not want to waste time in the bathroom. She invited Dels to go there with her. He answered her that he would communicate through the window, and he would remain outside. While Harun holds himself in her hands, everything will be fine. She smiled and noted that everything happened exactly as she predicted. Del was surprised to ask what she was talking about. She replied that she just checked him. She wanted to make sure that he would be a good mentor for her. For Della, everything that is about cleaning is a real catastrophe, which is why she decided to protest him. It complemented it perfectly. Now, after the conversation, Dels finally realized why she was doing so. She began to talk about the history of this world. However, Haruna noted that she wanted to restore strength faster, so she suggested discussing the cases she would like to do, something interesting and fun. Dels was amazed that she even puts her conditions now, but did not insist on her own. To tell the story of a goblin seeker adventure named Mudigav. So the first day of Haruna's workouts ended. A new training day has begun. Del asked Haruna if she got acquainted with the book he gave her yesterday. Haruna confidently replied that she had already read it. She noted that the book was readily read. The characters were sweet, and the plot was simple and understandable. It was moved by how the goblin adventurer, with the help of dark magic and music, saved the child of his bride. However, he noted that this is not the book he gave her. He said that from today they would start training the magic of Haruna. You will have to start everything from scratch. Even in this book, Haruna read, it was written that magic is divided into several types, and every skill needs to be studied separately and memorized. For water, air, earth, lightning, light and dark. Harun was asked what magic she wants to study. The girl replied without hesitation. It was obvious to her. Haruna confidently stated that she wanted to master the magic of darkness. To defeat classmates, she needs to use different tricks. Dark magic reduces the power of opponents and allows you to create a smoke curtain. In her opinion, this is the best of all magic. Yesterday she carefully viewed the list of skills, but never found the magic of darkness there. It just didn't. However, Bells assured that he accurately saw this kind of magic among the skills. Haruna only had to check again. Within a few moments she confirmed. The magic of darkness was really among the skills. Del advised her to choose her just as last time. When Haruna used the magic of darkness, her profession also increased. Thanks to this power, she could no doubt easily ahead of her whole class, as she planned. Del did not want to spoil her mood, but her mana would have enough only one volume. She offered to go to the garden immediately and test her new spell. At the training ground, Del explained that, as they said earlier, the magic of darkness not only weakens the abilities of the enemy, but also allows to manage bodies and gravity. It is extremely insidious and difficult to use magic. She assured that thanks to this magic, while the enemy is limited in actions, it is easy to manipulate. Waggles that weaken the mind and body have extraordinary force. Initially, he suggested Haruna to try a basic spell of darkness called Adva. With it, she will be able to create a small, poisonous ball. She focuses all her attention on her right hand, directs energy there, and imagines that she stirred the dough like a dog. He manages to use this spell for the first time. She just smiled skeptical in response to her attempt. She looked at the sheet and saw that she was able to create the usual little drop of poisonous fluid on the fabric. She said Haruna that it was quite good for the first attempt. At least she has already managed to do at least something. She decided to try again, but again nothing happened. Then Haruna turned to Del, asking why she did not feel any energy. Del explained Haruna that she had completely exhausted the mana. Haruna could not believe it and got lost, not knowing what to do next. Then Del proposed to return home and continue theoretical classes. It did not comfort Haruna at all. Haruna has insufficient mana and low magical skills. It cannot be thoughtlessly scattered, so raising the level of battles is not the best strategy. Now she needs the theory to grow effectively. She was not yet aware of this, but felt severe annoyance. She reminded her that the main goal was to take revenge on classmates. Hearing this, Haruna immediately cheered and promised to make even more effort for the sake of it. The third day of training. This time, they decided to visit the magical kingdom of Adelgate, namely the city of Diana, spreading around the castle, and the Del leisurely strolled around him. He wondered that Haruna restored the monuments. She trained in hand-to-hand combat and studied the theoretical foundations. If everything is at this rate, it will reach a new level of its profession much faster than it expected. He decided to ask about it. Thanks to the teacher-student skill, he could at any time review her characteristics. At the same time, Haruna himself was interested to find out how strong her mentor is. Ask Haruna if he really needs to ask her permission to review her characteristics. Moreover, the ability of teacher and student is not limited. But now, it was not the most important. They finally got the right place, to the weapon shop called Grievous. It is said that all the local product is the highest quality of the blacksmith. However, because of its stubbornness in the store, there are always little visitors, so it is not difficult to get here, although this place is quite known. The store has a large selection of weapons, armor, and clothing, and here you can change and improve things. Your wardrobe will be much better than before. A well-known Del, her familiar Anita, stood on the counter. She congratulated him, noting that they had not seen themselves for a long time, and then immediately paid attention to Haruna, who was standing nearby. She shouted loudly on the whole store that Del came with this girl. Although the Del tried to reassure her, Anita did not understand that he had noticed that Haruna. Of course it was a sweet and pretty girl, but Anita could not understand what she had touched him so. Del asked the Anita not to get involved in the mess and follow the words. Haruna appeared. It turned out to be a student of Delia. The girl said she was studying with magic and that she is very pleased to meet the Anita. He could not believe that Del took himself a student. Did he finally decide to settle? Danny asked the Anita to go on gasoline. She apologized for her jokes and promised to call him immediately. The man came out of the screen and was surprised to see that Del finally mastered himself. Del immediately warned him, "Do not invent anything." Gan took up work. He reported that today they would produce equipment for Deli's student. Del was wanted to make a special order and went to Gan for advice. He assured that this would not be a problem. Since the order personally from him, there will be a lot of work. But instead, Gan expects to get something in return. He asked the Anita to pick up her clothes for Haruna, because she had almost no her own things. She promised she would take care of her as best as possible. He was surprised by the request of the delivery. The man confessed that he has long been using a similar thing. But was it really intended for Harun? She replied that she would handle herself. Was Gan really so struck by this answer? Will the ordinary child magician manage to cope with this? Dels assured him that everything is under control. It is much stronger than it seems at first glance. After that, Dels handed genome materials. He stated that Dels, as always, says nonsense. Dels asked for a service. He replied that he could not refuse because it was a student. However, he warned that the materials are not enough. A certain amount is needed. He agreed that it was normal. Now they will go to the guild to take the task of destroying monsters, and Harun will collect the necessary materials for him. Heine was surprised by how Del plans to teach a girl. Wells returned to Anita and Haruna, feeling surprised. He noticed that Vanita was lying on the table and muttering something under his nose. Haruna noted that she behaved too welcome and apparently a little exaggerated with it. She stubbornly reduced the price to the very end. Del asked Harun to put things on his back, but she categorically objected to the teacher to wear her purchases. Harun assured that there is nothing to worry about, because his backpack is not as simple as it seems at first glance. Outwardly, it is a regular bag, but in fact it has charming properties. There is so much space inside that a whole store would fit. In addition, all things there are kept out of time and space. You cannot worry for either place or time. They suggested using such a purse instead of the refrigerator. Tel replied that they were just going to the guild. The rune wondered in Tel whether the guild here is the same as in games, adventures, battles, tasks, all this. She replied that it was. Today's workout involves a real battle with a monster. The Venture Guild accepts a variety of tasks and usually has a branch in each country. Each task has a certain period of execution. If it is violated, the contractor is obliged to pay a fine. He asked the Del what would be its first building. In response, he heard that beginners are usually trembling with fear of their first task, to destroy the monster. But Harun is not at all. It is different from others. She replied that she wanted to fight the monsters as soon as possible. Dels immediately mentioned that something was wrong with her psyche. Finally, he found a suitable task, such where the monster will have no chance to escape. They approached the table for registration. They turned to the old Jala, who was sitting at the table, and asked if it was normal that the head of the guild, so shabby, was so shaking in the workplace. Jagal greeted Delza, surprised by his return, and also in the company of a beautiful girl. She replied that this is not the case, she is only his student. Dels wondered, is everyone so strange in this city? They asked Jahal to announce the task he chose. Jal warned, the conditions will really Spartan. Will Garin handle this? She replied that she only had the first level. It struck Jola. He was confused, because this task was intended for third-level rulers. Task: to destroy the dense ash. Opponents are monsters of the third level in the form of wolves, a subspecies of kobolds. They seized the abandoned mine. These creatures are much more dangerous than ordinary kobolds, so it is recommended to assemble a command to fulfill the mission. He said that despite the fact that they had already agreed to the task, Old Jail tried very hard to stop them. Dels answered her that Harun was his granddaughter's peer, so it is not surprising that he was so excited. He also had to pay a fine for this task. There is even a certain record for such quests at the first level, but most of them were in the group. Delcy asked if all this usually happens. After concluding the contract, he immediately returned home instead of going for a task. His hands were eagerly sought to deal with evil monsters. When preparing a plan for the task, the characters learned that they need the mine on the opposite side of the mountain. Haruna equipment should also be combined. The Del already noted that this room had previously used BMP, so it's time to use his things. He lifted the hiding place in the floor and there was a chest. Del said Haruni that she can take advantage of these things if she desires. She will not wear things that do not belong. She told her that it wasn't a problem. This bathrobe is used only for training, and thanks to the imposed spell, it adjusts itself to the size of the one who puts it. She replied that in this case everything suits her. Dels assured that there was no reason to worry. Let Harun prepare, and then they move on. Dels put the remnants of equipment into its bag, recovery potions and other unnecessary. In the meantime, Harun has already turned back. She did not know how to dress the mantle properly, so she turned to the Della for help. She did not feel shame at all. Del explained to her what to do, and Harun went to change his clothes again. Finally, Harun was ready for a while. She began to list her gear. In her bag lay potions for health and mana, torch and rope. Everything you need that every adventure seeker should have. There were still a few things that could be taken for X. Harun did not understand why he did it. She told her that after the destruction of the Haruni's nest, she would have to extract ore or stones, similar. She said that such stones are necessary for the manufacture of equipment for Haruna. The girl was struck by their deep black color. Keeping the stone in her hands, Harun felt his weight. She assured that she would be able to get these stones from the depths of the mind, but only after Haruna coped with the monsters. To go to the place of your task. On the way, she came across a blood puddle and wondered how far she had left to her destination. She pulled out on a tree and began to observe from height. This is one of the ashy pawns. Compared to usual, it is much cautious about people. Also very aggressive, such creatures usually act as a flock and easily selected for the victim. But when it remains alone, he quickly returns to his usual activities. The information that Harun owned about them could be useful. But if the kobold is left alone, she has a chance to try to handle him on his own. She jumped down from the tree and immediately attacked him. Its purpose was to instantly neutralize the ashy aligned. As always, the rules were in vain. It was too easy for her to kill. Many years ago, in Haruna's memoirs, Haruna Matsumoth at training at the kendo club. She was surprised that the next day after the competition, Harun returned to training. Haruna recalled her rival, a girl, really strong and decisive. But thanks to the support of Chinatsu, she managed to calm down and win. Her rival, who had a different opinion, approached Harun after the duel and confessed. She is grateful that there are rules in kendo. After all, if it was a real battle on the sword, she would have already died. She began to do kendo only from high school, but during this time she was able to win in Japan. She said Haruni that her zeal remains as impressive as before. Although kendo does not do with high school, he cannot match her. Whatever the sport of Harun does not engage, she immediately succeeds. She replied that she was not able to compete in many things. Victory over rivals brings her real pleasure. That is why she is so carefully taught. Haruna cut off the tail of a rocky ash beast to later have evidence of his murder. The road to the mine was quite short. Haruna coped with several ash stone creatures. She decided not to use the torch because it would be too noticeable. She moved deep into the mine, thinking that in the evening she still needs to prepare dinner. She planned to return home to sunset. Note: someone intentionally damaged the rails in this place. Haruna tried to remember what she needed to do after the test was completed. She has a new problem. Haruna noticed that more than 10 ash pavement had gathered around. Repeat a sudden attack, as before. It will not work here. There is a lot of time ahead and the way will take a long time. The most effective solution would be to destroy all enemies at once. The girl began to scream loudly, attracting the attention of creatures from the pavement. Immediately all the views were directed at her. The pavers are madly from such boldness. His idea was to fight them alone or in small groups. It only had a few ways to reach, so it was almost impossible to get to the girl at once. Although it was still a child, it felt a special power. The pavers could not surround it at the same time. In this case, these opponents for her are easy prey. She could simply throw stones in them, but this will not help Haruni improve her skills. The girl seeks to preserve magic for emergency situations, especially if she suddenly finds a trap. She tries to stand up during this duel. She easily reflected the first attack of Kabla. She threw a poor man directly to the bottom of the arena. Their match helped her raise her level, but she was not going to stop there. She continuously dealt with every monster who dared to attack her. She was most concerned about what she had to descend to the bottom of the mine to pick up the tails of the cobs. Everyone wondered why Harun did not move all this time. Ask them apologize for that. Harun was just defending herself, so she remained so calm. But now she will go on the offensive. Everything is not in favor of ashy pavers. After that, Harun went down to the bottom of the mine to collect the left tails. Haruna collected tails, thinking, the combat techniques she have mastered in her past life look much more effective and interesting. Is this because of her skills? It may be possible to use even those techniques that seemed impossible in her world. She finally finished collecting the wreckage of tails and was infinitely admired. She was thinking about whether she should master the art of dismemberment if he had to kill opponents in battle. To do this, she should consult with the teacher. She wiped the bloody face with a nose. We will remind that this nozzle gave her a chinatsu. It is so unpleasant that blood has been on it. She needs to wash it as soon as possible. She remembered her magic bag. Everything you put there is not deteriorating over time. So she decided to remove the nose. I noticed a hole in the wall. It was there that all ash kobolds coincided. In other words, something is certainly hidden in this hole. In the end, when she came across a dead end, She still found an ore she had to bring to create a new equipment. At the moment, when Haruna rejoiced in this news, Banesh Kobland became unnoticed. They were much larger than those that Harun had encountered before. Haruna remembered as Grandpa Jal warned her of such danger. This mission could not go so easy. The pavement OGR lifted a huge boulder and threw it directly to Haruna, blocking her way to escape. At the same moment, the leader of the Zolea pavement rushed to Harun, preparing for the attack. The girl cleverly evaded the attack. She immediately realized that she was the main among all the pavers. Haruna mentioned the advice of Delsa's mentor. You can only collect fragments after winning all opponents. She has no choice. She should take this fight. The Ash opponent was much stronger than Haruna. Her strong blow dissolved on his skin and thick fur. It aimed at the joints but quickly realized the structure of his body is too unusual and not like human. There is no choice. The moment has come to use magic. Finally, her turn came to act. Finally, this moment has come. At one time, the Hoblin hero Mudzagawa used powerful magic against the owner of darkness. Now it is the same by Harun's power that the leader of the Sandflines is going to overcome. There are several ways to master magic in this world. The first is to remember the magical skill, and then you automatically master the basic sorcery. In the dungeons you can find disposable scrolls. If you use this, you can also get new magic. Moreover, magical knowledge can be inherited from another person. It was noted that Haruna has now remembered only one initial dark magic spell. Haruna replied that it was this cool magic that helped her defeat the Master of Darkness. There is another way to master the powerful spells of dark magic. To remember the sophisticated spells, you need to increase the level of appropriate skill. Harun must master the spell of Advas perfectly. For this she should use it every time until all of her Manu is exhausted. As the teacher advised, Haruna constantly used this spell. In the end, she understood how to effectively manage this magic. She began to attract ash pavement. And then we used the Adva spell and threw a poisonous clot directly into the face of a stone creature. Finally, using the spell directly on the nose of the monster, we dull its sense of smell. And if they were directed in the eye, then the creature would cover a sharp pain and blindness. The leader of the ghostly stones is extremely strong, but the result will still be inevitable. A series of powerful strikes of Haruna on the legs of the stone leader finally dumped him. Haruna watched with interest how much this stone giant would withstand. It was incredibly exhausting. Haruna barely kept on her feet. She was able to overcome the leader of the ashy stone monster. She rejoiced in victory and was proud if she was able to overcome the enemy. But the exhaustion was so strong that Harun was simply lost to the ground. The strength of ash pavement was simply incredible. Due to the too low level of Mona energy, Haruna has become critical. She behaved too recklessly. After drinking the healing elixir, she quickly restored her strength. She had already begun to cut off the tail of the stone rock, but did not even move. Although the ashy boss was dead, his power remained unchanged. If Harun continues to insist, it just breaks it. Harun even wondered in the reflection of not hiding the whole body behind her back. She could already do it. Now all you have to do is get the ore. Despite fatigue, it was extremely important. The hammer of the ash cobbly with a roar crashed into the wall and the ore scattered. What to do now? In the forest near the Dell mine, he was already waiting for his student. He was convinced that right now Harun would complete his task. Dell asked Haruna if she liked her first bypass. The girl with a smile replied that it was not easy, but at the same time much more interesting than she expected. It's something that is very captivating, Harun. She told the teacher that she was able to collect only small stones, but she had many of them. Elle replied that if there are so many, there is nothing to worry about. Harun then added that her pebbles were much lighter than those that the teacher gave. He suggested that Harun probably increase the level during this task, so he asked her if she checked her staff. She confirmed that during the battle there was a notification of raising the level, but was so focused on a duel that she did not notice anything around. Haruna apologized for it. Aruni said that she may have been able to increase the level of her profession. Dulles politely asked Aruna's permission to review its characteristics. Haruna replied that this is not a problem, and that he does not even need to ask permission, because he is her mentor. Windows suddenly announced that Harun is now a second level. This message was very comforted. The training of hand-to-hand combat proved to be much more complicated than mastering the dark magic, which was just in line with her profession. But it seems that Haruna put all her strength, with all the perseverance to sharpen the blows on strong stones. Thanks to the new style level, it has more skills, but something was wrong. The sun was already leaning towards the horizon. They decided to continue the conversation at home, because there was another important task ahead of Harun: to prepare dinner. She suggested that the teacher hurry home. She still had enough forces. Dil did not fascinate this idea. On the way home, Harun from Dil returned to the previous conversation. Looking into her notebook, Haruna noted that raising the profession usually adds only one cell for skills. However, for some reason, she appeared at once, and Dil confirmed it. He found it in his skills as a master and student. This is an innate skill. He did not study it specifically, but by raising the level and having a little luck, you can get similar abilities. They are even provided with individual slots. The student's skills can only be applied to those who are at the first level. The choice to make Haruna with his student in such short time was quite justified. When Del first gained this ability, he even thought it was a mistake. The most important was the explanation of the impact of the ability, teacher and student. The one who has concluded the contract with this ability, with the level of the profession, has 2 slots for skills instead of 1. She was genuinely surprised, but at the same time recognized that it was incredibly cool. She also added that it was of great benefit. She wondered what new skills to choose. Haruna mentioned that the teacher responded positively about the cutting skill. She thought that this skill would be especially useful in battles with a large number of monsters as today. Del added that it is a really good skill that is easy to develop, but with its improvement only agility will grow. If you click the skills when choosing, you can see its effect and find out what characteristics it depends on. When Harun explained it, she realized, when comparing the skill of a melee, fighting Delk in this way, the difference between them will be simply striking. She thought that she may have to choose another kind of spontaneous magic to raise her professional level. It seemed to her that mastering different magic schools would be exciting. However, Del categorically receded it from this idea. After all, for the development of 2 types of magic, you need to spend twice as much mana, so the process will last twice longer. Bruno was as avid in the study of theory as she was in battle. It would not allow such a difference. She was advised to choose the skill of jutsu. This is the only combat skill available to magicians. For magicians who have health, strength, and endurance, leaves much to be desired. This skill helps to increase the basic characteristics. If you use staff, it also enhances magical abilities. Perhaps this skill is perfect for her, because she is engaged in kendo. It was this strategy that Harun also proposed. In addition, they offered to master the sweet dream skill. Haruna explained that she was necessary for a full rest at night. Tells added that thanks to this skill, during sleep, the body recovers quickly, and in the morning, you wake up cheerful and full forces. This dream is significantly different from the usual. It can be not only felt, but also purposefully developed as a skill. The skill develops only during sleep. In other words, Harun will be able to train even in a dream while increasing her health and endurance. For melee, this is a real find. In addition, during this development, its fatigue will quickly disappear. As soon as she chose new skills, I immediately reported it to her mentor. She took her flea and went to bed immediately to test a new skill as soon as possible. He thought it was good that she immediately agreed. Will she be able to fall asleep when it worries so? In addition, if Haruna's soul and body calm this passion, it will only benefit. Before bedtime, Bells decided to review Haruna's characteristics again. He opened a window with characteristics and was amazed. The level of sweet sleep has already increased by the second. Training day is finally coming to an end. The 4th day of training has begun. Today Dells was busy. He asked Haruna to go to the city on his own to deliver Orthegan and complete the task in the guild. Haruna agreed and promised to execute the instructor. First of all, she went to the weapon store and handed over the collected crystals to the seller. He noted that the stones are small, but their number is fully compensated for the size, and this is not a problem. Anita praised Harun for a well-completed task, and one of the sparkling jewelry took her hands to look more closely. They seemed so heavy for her that Harumi could not understand how Haruna was holding them in her hands, without letting them out. She asked Gain to pick up a staff for her to train. He undertook to cook the stove and asked Harun while waiting. She could not understand how easily everyone was able to keep the Orafa furnished, because they were very heavy. She then asked Haruna that she was going to create them. Harun confessed that the teacher explained her almost nothing, so she is still unknown. She laughed, because her mentor also never explains her to her. He rounded it from the remnants of ore, although no one did such an order. Instead of a regular training sample, he created a trial version. He also added that he does not need money for it. Harun and Anita were genuinely surprised by such a statement. She assured that for such a wonderful service he should pay him. Anita supported her, noting that it was not necessary to give up money if Harun insists. He stood on his own and told them both to silence. He created this staff exclusively for training. It is not even a matter of sale. Such a thing is not suitable for showcases. But since the product is ready, let Harun take it. She thanked Ghana and assured that she would make every effort to train with this sword as best possible. He advised her to get used to the sword now as he had the opportunity. Otherwise, at the most responsible moment, it may not withstand tension. Harun did not fully realize the meaning of his words. Haruna's weapons store for her became a kind of act for her. Behind the counter was a man with a metal jaw who welcomed him. I asked Haruna what purpose she visited today. Did she seem too complicated yesterday? However, Harun assured that it was not about it. She came to report that the den was successfully cleaned. Joel understood everything and wondered why Harun did not immediately say that Dels went with her and helped. Haruna replied that Joel was wrong. He only pointed her way but did not help in the battle. Joel couldn't believe heard. She is a first-level magician, but she was able to deal with a whole cubic of ash goblins. The whole situation seems humiliating, as if everything was done only for the sake of the reward. Haruna stated that she has evidence. Goblin's tail. She had to take everything on herself. She asked for a larger room for him because it was too tight. He was such a giant. Jal was silent, not finding words. They waited when they would finally open the evaluation room. In the meantime, Harun returned home. Her teacher noted that after the participants of the guild had cut the body of Bose Kabul, Jal was forced to surrender. He did not expect it to bring the Barca body completely. She was awarded the award and returned her contribution. In addition, Guild gave Haruni an honorary title of adventurer. From now on, it could use the special privileges provided by the Guild. He was sincerely pleased with the success of his student. She would have to buy a staff for training, because there was only one old thing left. She told him that the staff had gave her Anne. Bells was extremely surprised. Could Anne really give someone something right? Did he like it so much? It was so easy to talk to Harun, because it is always sincere and friendly. I looked carefully at the staff that Harun brought. She said it was a regular training staff, but his appearance gave a skillful job. Del, as always, emphasized, for his old school, his craft is a matter of honor, and he treats her with all responsibility. Therefore, Harun must handle the stick extremely careful. When she holds it in his hands, he constantly monitors what is happening around. The stick is extremely difficult. A careless step, and Harun can break through the floor. This mysterious black magic stone is extracted only in those caves. Del built his home in the middle of wild lands to get full control over the extraction of this valuable resource. As it turned out, the ore was too heavy and difficult to process, so it was not handed to anyone. No one visits him, so he can fully focus on training. But as soon as he thought it, they knocked on the door unexpectedly. He opened the door, but he did not like the guest. The girl was on the doorstep. She asked if the Fahrenheit Del lived here. He asked her if she was familiar with her teacher, but such a question did not like her at all. He turned to her as a Nero. He asked not to scare Harun, and not look at her from the threshold so predatory that you were looking for an opportunity to attack. If Harun was not his student, she would have long been faint. After an uncomfortable pause, Nero apologized for her act. It seemed to her that burglara had penetrated the house. She brought the cake, but she had only 2 pieces, so she suggested Haruni to taste them together. She was sincerely pleased with this proposal, because she was tired after the expedition. He wondered what the expedition was about. Neri was surprised. Did Del not tell her at all? Even on Haruna, her old clothes. Del became recognized that he really did not mention that they once lived together. Discussing cohabitation, Harun concluded that Nero was a girl Delia. Both immediately denied her guess. Haruna apologized for being too hurried with his conclusions. She noted that Del was guilty because she did not introduce her before. So Haruni should not worry about it. Bells supported this opinion and said it was time to get acquainted. Limer is an ancient ally of Del, the true pride of the Delgite kingdom. She is the strongest knight and commander of a platoon of magical knights. Although her vocation is the possession of the sword, it is the highest step among the magicians. Her strength is incredible, it is dangerous, as if a real monster, so be alert with her. I said Delsa should not be called this woman a monster. After that, Harun was scared even, but she was wrong. Haruna was not scared at all. On the contrary, this power of the Neurus inspired her. Now Harun wants to drain with her forces. She noted that this is a really great idea, so we can't try right now? The Nero laughed, they say, a witty joke, because she would never think in her life that Dels will have a student. This is how Kamgaran became a student of Dels. I was surprised to learn that Nero did not know this story. I was convinced that Kenan had already told her everything to the smallest details. However, Nero replied that she only heard rumors that many young men have arrived in this world lately. She reported that Harun was among those young men. She was called mediocre, so the cannon brought her here. According to Haruna, the cannon drove it in different places, and then decided to teach the basics of the study of mazes. She confessed that she almost did not know about reporting the cannon to her leaders. At that time, it was completely absorbed by expeditions and was torn between responsibilities and personal life. In the castle, she met some strange guys with black hair. Nero noted that they did not make her a close look. She was barely able to hold on, not to grab a sword and not to study them. Bred up too gently, they do not know the discipline at all. They should only leave the castle. They fall through the ground. Only crazy, do nothing properly. The boys are arrogant. There are even some gangs. If they commit a crime, they will be taken under control by knights. Harun said that if this happens, her compatriots would not have a drop of mercy. She replied completely indifferently. They say, you will not do anything. Hearing this answer, Nero understood whom Del took to his students. Haruna's classmates also have real diamonds, only slightly cut. She said she had to go, so today she won't work out with Harun. She is sure that they are sure to meet. Nara will look forward to the results of her training. Meanwhile, in the garden of the castle, Adelheid Chinatsu sat on a bench, staying alone. Nato was asked again if she was worried about Harun. She was annoyed by everything that was happening. They were transferred to this world without explanations, forced to review some statuses, and then even put their abilities to everyone. How sense does it all be? The Juice confessed that the situation with Haruna painfully struck her herself. She wanted to talk to her, because at first she considered Harun her rival, and now she realized that she was simple and mediocre. Sue asked to complete this conversation. She replied that she understands everything. She was just glad because she was able to surpass Harun at least. The conversation suddenly interrupted Joseph and Nero. They argued that Nero should not behave as unauthorized, because these people are guests of their country. Joseph immediately asked why he decided to drop the guest on the Del's shoulders. Such incidents should be reported personally. Did Joseph forget who deal with? At this point, the gift noticed Chinatsu and Toa. She approached the Chinas and put her hand on her shoulder. She asked how her name was, but the Chinatsu was barely able to answer. The pressure and tension she felt from the interlocutor were too strong. For the last time, she urged her to become a student. The NSSU was amazed to the depths of the soul. Mero wondered if she was hesitant. Chinatsu should not worry about anything. Joseph will definitely give his consent. She assured that everything was fine, because the Prime Minister himself signed. She congratulated Zeitz, because she has become a student from now on. Soon, Chinatsu has every chance of becoming a heroine, stronger in this matter. He never realized what had just happened. The 4th day of training has ended. A new training day has begun. He realized that Haruna progresses incredibly quickly, even too fast. If so continues, it will soon switch to the 3rd level. During the training battle, Del asked Harun, or did not start losing his balance. Maybe it's worth a rest. But Harun confidently replied that she didn't need a rest. Today's training is so exhausted by Harun that she just fell into bed. However, thanks to the skill of sweet sleep she showed her, she felt great again in a moment. He was glad that his advice was useful for her, and Harun was confidently coping with the battle against the monsters. Her successes during his training brought him real pleasure. Haruna cooks perfectly and always clean in the house. She always copes with his responsibilities like a real housewife. In addition, he is pleased, improving himself and his skills daily. Haruna is not able to hit the teacher again. He decided to make a small break. While everyone was snapping, it became interesting to see the Haruns. Seeing this, he could not believe his own eyes. Haruna's professional level had already reached the 3rd degree. She could not believe it. Yesterday, after long training, Harun immediately went to bed, so she did not notice the changes. Moreover, her magic of darkness has already exceeded the 10th level, which meant a new opportunity to master another spell. I noticed that Jujutsu's art had already exceeded the skill of dark magic. The calm dream and skill of hand-to-hand combat also increased significantly. compared to the past together in the game. Is that all? The fruits of persistent training? He wondered how many more skills he can master Harun. In addition, he mentioned that the canon also has a third-level profession. Arna wondered at the Dell how many more skill levels she needed to get to reach the fourth level of the profession. The answer is, to reach the fourth level, it is necessary that the sum of levels of abilities and profession is equal to 100. Among the seizures of adventures and knights of the fourth level is already considered true veterans of their region. She estimated that she had just over half of the experience left to the next level, just to 100. She decided to make every effort to achieve this goal as soon as possible. Bell noted that Harun would now be able to help him in business. Bell suggested Haruni together to hunt after lunch so that she could train her abilities. Haruna decided that hunting is another great way to improve. Garuna and Dell arrived in the guild together. The moon was greeted with Joel. He noted that Garuna, as always, was full of energy. He may have time to stop treating her as a child. El also greeted, but in response he did not hear any warm reaction. Dell began to reproach that Harun was sent to fight Kabul Bao. Les did not want to listen to the old man's grunting. He asked him to go to search for missing people. The old man was surprised that the boys wanted to take up such a matter. But Dell explained that Harun would become the one who would agree to accomplish this task, and he will work nearby to be nearby. He warned Harun, if there is a danger, she should immediately leave the house and escape. I assured that she would not do anything for anything. She will not leave her mentor in trouble, but will fight with him. Dells was glad that there was at least one good soul next to him. So Dellas reached the town of Slem, located near Diana. The moon was asked in Della whether it was the same hunt he mentioned, because in her opinion, they should be looking for victims of monsters in the mountains. Dell assured her that it was a real hunt. Hunting will not be monsters, but people. It was unpleasant to Harun. It turns out that these delusions really sought to eat human meat. Haruni explained that the city was refueling by the criminal organization Receiver. Sometimes even magical knights prefer to close their eyes to their activities, because it can be in favor of them. At the same moment, 3 unidentified people surrounded Dell and Haru, and she noted that these people really look like bandits, and probably belong to the same organization. They clearly did not like how Harun spoke about them, but she did not pay attention to them, and continued the conversation quietly. If Harun had not stopped, they would definitely attract her. The moon asked the teacher whether it was possible to go to beating. Everyone agreed, but they warned, do not overdo it, do not bring to death. Someone else is needed to carry us to their boss. The moon understood the mentor. It is not interesting to make fun of the weaker, but she has no other choice. And here the Delk and the moon reached the old house. The bandits convincingly assured them that their boss is the one they were looking for. They were asked to go to the boss and report. Dell's Fahrenheit came to him. The bandits were surprised. Dells really knows their leader? If not, serious troubles were waiting for him. But Dells, smiling cunningly, stated that he had already happened. Haruna lifted his eyebrows and noticed the teacher that he could not lie so controversial. He said that the Requiem, the leader of the North, is his longtime acquaintance. However, now he is constantly changing his place of residence, so finding it is not easy. An unfamiliar man came out of the house. Bells decided that he was one of the high-ranking members of the organization, although he could not remember him. The man suggested that they take them to the bus stop. They moved forward. Haruna noted that the trail looping confused. Bell explained that it was so specially conceived that no one could find the way here. She greeted the Requiem and wondered how he had. He replied that everything was well until Dell came here. We noticed Harun and assumed that Dell brought her to sell. It explains a lot. Gills replied that Harun was his student, and Requiem understood everything. But this did not apply to him. There was nothing to discuss them anymore. He asked Della to go. He said that from the moment of their acquaintance the Requiem should behave decently. Requiem in response noted that today and so busy, but Dell did not retreat. He warned, if the Requiem does not solve everything now, then the next time he will come no longer. But Nero, the name of the Requiem, stunned him. He continued, explaining that he had his reasons. After all, he and Requiem are the best friends. If he left, he would have changed. Requiem he interrupted and said he agreed to talk to Dell. A few days ago, newcomers came to the city. Most of them were about Haru peers. He asked his assistant whether something was known about this event. He replied that 3 days ago, a distinguished ladies arrived in the city. Although there was no exact information, it was rumored that newcomers with gifts appeared in Gainal. They were Haruna's peers. Del's remembered well because there were several girls. However, he seemed not enough for this information. So he wondered, where are these girls now? The council replied that several of them are now under their protection. However, how many girls were initially, they can only guess. He said hope that all the girls are all right. Requiem suggests that they have already left a safe zone. He understands that Del is trying to turn them back, so it allows him to act at his own discretion. Biam noted that recently guys from Hainava are increasingly going beyond what is allowed. If they continue to bush, they will have to show where the crayfish are wintering. He asked the interlocutor if he really wanted to test Haruna. This girl? Requi understands what kind of deal is really, but this time he clearly overtook the stick. In a good mood, Del has already received the necessary information and permission to work in the area. It seemed that it was only necessary to bring the matter to the end. But suddenly the Requiem stopped him. He did not understand why everyone treated so politely with Haruna. Requiem added that he could not sleep quietly if something bad happened to her. The Del replied, although I do not make a special impression on the outside, but in fact I give myself a good advice. Subordinate Vims said that those three only the second level, but the appearance is often deceptive. It is rumored that 5 newcomers arrived in the city. It is rumored that each of them has great abilities. We are outraged that, despite their constant activity in the city, they are still lacking in trust. Dels explained in response that they were in a hurry. However, he does not object to the forces of Haruna. William said she was able to fight with his death. Harun did not hide her delight. We could not understand why Haruna reacts so enthusiastically. But Del knows that Dats has no equal in the battle. If Maroon is able to stand against him, he recognizes her. Then Del will be able to move freely and will have unlimited access to the brothel. Requiem only asks to behave softer, and here is all ready for the decisive stage. For a while the battle has already ended. The Ravi was surprised that Harun was able to hit the data, after which he stopped the fight. He began to apologize, but the Requi stopped him. You should not apologize. In a real battle, it is important to always make the right decisions. Everything will really be fine with her if she goes to Haina. Although Darts got a blow, his face looked somehow unnatural. He confessed that he was surprised. The blow was much more powerful than it seemed at first glance. In addition, as soon as the battle began, her gaze changed strikingly. During the battle, she literally shone, and for a moment her look was thirst for blood. It was not just about her skill. I wondered what life she lived if she could become that. It is always taught full. Requiem said it was not surprising, because even Darts appreciated her abilities. Now he began to worry about the fate of the guys from Haina. We asked what Darts did with him after the battle. Could he heal him? ACC was ashamed to admit it, but it was true. Haruna's pain was unbearable. In the meantime, it was held only through willpower. Requiem suddenly realized that all this time Dats endured a terrible pain. Harun could be praised for making him feel it, and Delcy for such a persistent girl's training. Even with such training we could laugh sincerely. I rejoiced that everything passed well, but Garun had a different opinion. She noted that if she had not mastered the skills of evasion today, everything could end completely differently. When she struck Datsu, no muscle shuddered on his face. He answered her that there was probably a difference in their abilities. He believes that it is a manifestation of his 5th level. Maroon realized it and was genuinely surprised. He began his journey from the bottom of the underworld. He had to participate in numerous clashes that were not always on the verge of life and death. This was not surprising. She mentioned the events by excerpts, as if he had slowed down specifically for her, making it possible to act for sure. However, there was no threat to her. Harun was asked in a Del what they were doing. The Del explained everything, but Haruni had questions. She wondered why the Nair's Knights did not do this. It is a matter of state level. The Del replied that the Knights are probably already working on it, but they do not seek to interfere with them. The city has a problem. This is where people like them are needed. In order not to associate the reward with the state, the guild draws up fictitious orders and pays money independently, and she understood almost nothing about what was happening. Del noted that it is too early for such conversations at her age. It reminded Haruni of her battle with death. Then she manifested herself perfectly. Those two did not even notice how she used magic. Due to the fact that Harun has increased her skills in the magic of darkness, she managed to master the spell of gravity, which enabled her to manage these forces. At the last moment, she increased the gravity in her hand. In addition, during the touch of Harun, she created a poison with the help of Atlas. She did not report it. Fortunately, Del managed to destroy all the evidence. Informs told Haruni that she will have to spend the next fight against her own classmates. A smile appeared on her face. She was already looking forward to defeating her classmates. Mansion on the outskirts of Diana. Satsuzuki is a 3rd-level warrior. A Tanaka is a trade in the same level. Sato is a 4th-level sword, as well as Hashi, a 3rd-level magician. They all sat at the table and played poker. Together with them at the table sat Edo, a monk of the 3rd level. Hearing strange sounds from the outside, the boys were alert, and Suzuki asked Edo to go out and find out what caused them. After they got into this world, they managed to escape from the castle. It all started Sato. Edo could no longer tolerate that they were constantly monitored to prevent important information. The kingdom was only worried about those who reached the 3rd level and above. The other two also supported Sato's decision, but from the very beginning he was just a guy in the run and did not participate in business. After escaping from the castle, Sato did not hesitate to use the force. He was engaged in racketeer, made a robbery, and stolen people. He later joined the influential group. Under the rule of the throne, this association was experiencing the times of true heyday, although those three are far superior to guys from the Hainal by force. Meanwhile, conflict with the most powerful conservative organization. At midnight. If this continues to continue, they really take over the whole country. A little earlier, Del and Harun arrived at the Tron's estate, the head of the Haina fraction. They were convinced that 5 Haruna classmates should be here. At the entrance, they were stopped by the guard of the estate. It was because of this that Harun and Del made sure that they got to the right address. He explained Haruni that he usually has her own ways of penetration, but this time she can act at her own discretion and not restrain herself. Everyone here is criminals, so even if someone has to kill, this is not a problem. She smiled and assured the teacher which would do it. At the same moment, she rushed to one of the guards and put all her strength. The blow was so powerful that the guard flew and crashed into the wall nearby. The archers opened fire on Haru. Haru effortlessly intercepted all the arrows released in his direction. Without much difficulty, Haru dealt with all the guards who were chatting outside. He stated that the time of the chat has passed. The moment was to act. Inside the estate, they were already waiting for them, ready to meet uninvited guests. The gang attacked Harun, but it cleverly repulsed their streams. She strictly warned Gaara not to arrange a sight. These abominants do not deserve even in the place under this sky. The moon understood the teacher and undertook to see the one who stayed. No one was waiting for a different reaction from Harun. He noted that she was really ruthless. They are like this, sir. But Harun could act less cruelly. She replied that she perceives them as a monster, so she was indifferent. Several more members of the group went down the stairs. Haruna replied that in a moment she would deal with them. She told them that they could attack, and began to provoke boldly. After that, everyone immediately attacked Harun and Del. It was at this time that Edo passed by. He noticed an axe that was stuck in the wall, and was confused by the strange screams and noise coming from the smithy. He realized that it was not a regular drunken fight. He wanted to return and call others, but he quickly rejected this thought. No one would believe him. He decided to check what had happened, and what he saw struck him to the depths of his soul. The bodies lay on the floor. He noticed that someone was climbing the stairs, but his own feet did not obey. Marun recognized his classmate in it. All day, Edo only had to watch and endure the abuse of classmates. One day, Harun stopped suddenly. He was relieved that the class attention was switched to someone else. He wondered, he will now stop touching him now. Now it's safe. He hoped that Harun would handle all the abusers. They could not believe that they lost one girl. After that, no one touched eating if there was Harun nearby. At that moment, he fell in love with Harun. They could not understand why Harun was standing before him. Haruni asked if she was familiar with this guy. Harun replied that he was her classmate, so he is one of them. Del imagined them completely different. The last Teda asked what he was doing here. Ordinary people are unable to penetrate the world of villains. The Eta began to quit the cheetah. Why he was here if he disappeared from the castle a few days ago. However, Harun interrupted him, noting that Edo was ashamed of strangers. Edo feared that he would be killed if he did nothing. He said that Satomitsu took him from the castle. After that, he constantly used the guy as a servant, forcing any assignment. He told Dels that the other four were a friendly company of bully. They often entertained, mocking Edo, who was considered worthless. He reported that the stolen girls were kept in the basement of the estate and should be released as soon as possible. In fact, he cared more about his own affairs than the rescue of others. Daita told Dels that the garden was standing in the organization of all the abductions. Dels understood everything right away. He said that if everything is that way, then first of all it is necessary to neutralize the very cause of evil. They slept him and moved on. Hearing laughing at the door, Del and Harun realized that they were where it was needed. They suddenly realized that there was no sound from the outside. It seems that the room was beautifully isolated from extraneous noise. He noted that he was waiting for the attack on the approaches to the room. However, their protection was simply pathetic. Despite belonging to a serious organization, they carelessly have fun without taking care of safety. It's a real shame. The moon proposes to attack the enemy invisibly, but the Del advise her to rush and act more carefully. She is aware that she is ready to immediately deprive the lives of all these monuments, and does not feel any repentance. But suddenly doubts are in mind. What? How will her school friends be among them? Would she really kill them? The moon answered that the punishment would depend on the severity of guilt, but if someone tries to kill her in response, she will have to defend herself. Haruna holds firmly in life, and will not allow some scum to kill himself. She replied that in this case she would act as always. At this point, Suzuki noticed that Ed had disappeared for a long time and has not yet returned. Tanatically suggested that if they were spreading the playing poker in this world, they would be able to earn a good money at its organization. This would be enough to fully meet all their needs, although they actually only have fun with her. The knock laughed. She was sincerely pleased that everyone was well, and suddenly the door with a roar flew from the loops. Suddenly, Harun burst into the room with a roar, threw the door straight to the floor. He was upset that it was not Sato, but noted that Haruni was so lucky. It is good that she had managed to hit someone in general. He noted that the atmosphere was calm, but Harun had a different opinion. Everything was unbalanced for her. The moon and noise did not have that she would have to take radical action so quickly. They were quite surprised by Haruna's appearance just before them. On her path, Harun noticed only 3 monsters who stood together, forming a huge threatening figure. Haruni said that in this world she received a label, mediocre. This is the ideal reason for him to drive his anger on it. After all, now all other than in the previous world, now they are much stronger than Harun. I couldn't understand how they could be such fools. It would be much wiser to take hostages. It would make Harun think. Or they are really so sure of their choice. He prepared for the battle and activated his special technique called Red Ribbon. Sato promised to show Haruni the power that only he possesses, and said it would be his last gift for her. He activated his built-in red-tailed skin. Dels could not understand why the garden was so worried. He was ashamed of himself, because the garden revealed all his trumps on his own. Del only hoped that Harun would be alert and would not lose vigilance, trembled in anticipation of what awaits ahead. He became more and more obvious that there was a huge difference between him and Haruna's combat capabilities on the front line. He was supported by Suzuki and Takahashi with his magic. Victory was almost in his hands. I realized that it's seeking to give them a signal to attack from all sides. The rune acted faster than they had to react. She swung his foot, but the garden managed to take advantage of her skill, and the blow walked by. She ordered everyone to attack Haru immediately. She noticed that her opponent had accelerated sharply. This was not ignored for Gel. Tail is a skill that temporarily enhances the characteristics of the one who uses it, as well as its allies. However, the duration of action depends on their agility. The higher it is, the shorter the effect. Hell thought, are they now faster than Haru? She easily reflected his attack and broke his sword with her stamp. Given the red tail technique, all the boys were defeated in less than 10 seconds. However, Haruna acknowledged that she still needs to learn. She thought that this technique is quite spectacular, but after its use there is a tangible rollback. In addition, they were not able to handle swords. He began to heal everyone around, but Harun could not understand why he was doing it. The teacher was always distinguished by mercy. It was difficult for her to believe that a real Del now stands in front of her. She realized that Harun was able to overcome the test and did not break under the pressure of the meanness. However, the real test of humanity, of course, has not passed. Del suited it completely. He replied that he had cured them only because they promised a larger reward for their lips. Harun advised her not to waste here, but to go and settle with the remnant of the group because the main forces were already defeated. Harun realized that she needed to keep the throne alive, then to hand it to the North organization, selling them for agreement. He said he would go and try to save the stolen girl. He called the girls to himself. He wanted to ask them about something. Waking up, he saw Del. He did not understand why he was in shackles. Del asked, Did Edo really believe that he would be so easy to release one? He is now using delts as a bait. All those present listened to the way as Del started his story. These guys were engaged in criminal business. They escaped from the castle, stolen girls from the surrounding towns and turned them into a slave. They ignored all the laws of this country. For such actions, they could well be executed in place, but now, he shouted that he had nothing to do with it. The guilty Seigo and others, and he just followed them and did nothing. He was sure it was worth blaming the guilt on others, and he would certainly be able to escape. He made them aware. For this country, they are nothing. Now he has in the shortest possible time to handle everything until unnecessary rumors have spread. Edo also does not hide his concern. Tells interrogates the girls who have been abducted, and his name sounds during a conversation. He is indifferent to their feelings, intentions, or actions. He is not concerned about what they did, or how. They escaped from the castle, taking with them important information, and themselves are also valuable to it. Tells does not forgive such. To those who have decided on such, there will be no mercy. He understood that he did not deserve death only for this, but Tells did not worry at all. He released everyone, declaring that he had a special offer for them. He prepared for each weapon and suggested to choose the one you like. He asked Dells what he meant. He stated that if they managed to overcome it, they would be able to go quietly, and it would not have any consequences. He decided that they were scared when they fought with Harun. So this time he suggested that they go into battle again, but already against him. He also noted that one of the reasons was the desire to check whether they were worthy of becoming candidates in the fight against the owner of darkness. He explained that he wants to keep himself in shape, because if he neglects training, he can lose in sparring with Haru. He never managed to strike. The Del immediately cut off his life. Others also rushed into battle. This time I plan to use magic. He turned to Edo. He understood that Harun was in love and informed him that her heart was already busy. The Del lives with her under one roof, sets her dishes and has fun with her. These words were angry with El, and she attacked him sharply. Neither his strength nor the joint efforts of others were able to overcome El. She began to heal their wounds again. She healed them, and then she went into battle. And so it was repeated once after all, until everyone was completely broken. Bells felt even more disappointment in it. This was reminiscent of teenagers who have just received the driver's license but already sit behind the wheel of the racing car. High levels and good characteristics do not yet guarantee skills in their own use. What kind of battle against Bishop of Darkness can be conducted with such candidates? This, who was just in another world, provided too many privileges. If the rest of the people were the same, the consequences would be catastrophic. I decided to do the way until Harun came. The shadow splashed with all the boys suddenly pulled inside him. He was glad that he finally put his way around. It seems that the influence of Haruna prompted him to do it. The moon informed Dells that she had completed her task. He asked how everything went. She told him that she had coped with all Heinav's participants, including 16 on the second floor, and with those who were 21st. She evacuated slaves to save them. She found a throne near Sato room. She first stunned him, and then broke his leg so that he could not even escape. He praised her and assured that a joint dinner was certainly waiting for them tonight. He reported that in the dungeon it was possible to find the rest of the hostages and pass them to the knights. Those slaves that Haruna brought out were already under reliable care for people from the organization Nafnik. The moon wondered what was with her classmate. He replied that he had sent them to the place that was best suited for them. Edo left the city and went to far lands, seeking a peaceful and quiet life. Luna noted that everything was best. It is impossible to waste life in vain, because during this time you can achieve anything. Del thought, if the boys tried to raise their level, even without much ambitions, they would definitely defeat it together. It is not enough to face extraordinary abilities, but it was not enough. After solving all the problems, they transferred the throne to the hands of the organization Nafnik, and they went to the market themselves. She confessed that she wanted to cook meat, and did not get rid of her because such an opinion was sleeping when she saw a throne that looked like a fat. In addition to the guild rewards, Dells and Harun received money from the organizer of Northern at Midnight and the government, so that they were silent and not disclosing the details. In honor of the task of Harun made every effort and prepared a great. Hills wondered the Karuna how much its characteristics increased after the battle. The moon admitted that she completely forgot to review her characteristics after the fighting. So now she would do it immediately. The characteristics window showed that Haruna's indicators increased slightly, and her skill level has also increased. Haruna was upset because the level of her profession did not increase. Dell explained to her that it was impossible to raise him in 1 minute. Haruna was too hurried. She was quite surprised how quickly evasion and throw increased to this level. After all, she only mastered these skills today. The 4th level remained a little, although Haruna reached the 3rd only recently. Usually, to acquire such a trait, people have to train for 10 years. But this time Haruna only nodded silently, realizing that she was lacking persistence. They asked Haruna if she liked new skills. She replied that thanks to the warrant, she feels great where he could move. And thanks to a throw, easily through objects, almost without effort. Her words have been confirmed. The ability to evade really helps to avoid attacks, as if she suggests the body where to go. And the throw allows you to accurately regulate the strength and trajectory of flight, helping it almost effortlessly to control itself in the air. None of these skills concerns her profession. Instead, they are perfect for Haruna's fighting style, fully compensating for the missing characteristic. Now the moon is ready for various combat situations. From now on, she will only need 1 book to fall asleep. The dark magic of the moon has already exceeded the 20th level, so now it can master new spells. Example Dies is a spell of dark magic that produces black smoke clubs. It can be used as a curtain for masking. The moon was enthusiastically noted that it was extremely cool magic, and it can no longer wait for the opportunity to take advantage of it. This is how the 5th day of training ended. In the middle of the night, Dela woke up that Haruna had expedited, hugging him from her back. The Dela tried to wake Haruna, but she did not want to wake up stubbornly. Delis used full purification, and Haruna immediately woke up. Haruna was asked why she was lying in his bed, but the girl replied that she had a very important reason. It was going to improve the effectiveness of special, sweet dreams. It is clear that compared to other skills, sweet sleep is improving the longest. We will try to finally find out what the real reason was. She was not very enough for her favorite dog, Piro, with whom she had previously hugged every night. Haruna was not too worried about a sweet sleep, but it was obvious. To sleep in the usual, comfortable conditions greatly increases the efficiency of the protective screen. He warns Haruna not to treat him like a dog, and with anger beats his fist on the ground. He is glad that Haruna is so trying, but reminds, everything needs a measure. The moon explained that the Delos was like a father, so she did not attach special importance to it. In addition, the moon confessed that she really liked to sleep with someone nearby. The feeling was so pleasant that she almost immediately fell asleep. He allowed Haruna to spend the night with him, but only this time and only today. Bruno, covered by a wave of admiration, suddenly hugged Della. The 6th day of the training camp. Del never was able to sleep normally because Haruna constantly interfered with him. If it continues to do so, it will not continue to pour. Opening the door behind which they stood in a row, she greeted him. Good morning. She brought brownie, explaining that she took 3 pieces this time. Del wanted to taste it. He was very pleased and invited Nero to join them for breakfast. He was surprised to see the table, generously filled with a variety of dishes. He wondered in Neri who brought her this time. Does she really want to talk about yesterday? In response, Neri said she had already become public, and Joseph reminds her without stopping. If this information becomes known, she will have to remove Della. Actually, it was not the main reason for her visit. Nero had much more important news. She now had a student. She noted that her student looked like Haruna, so she decided that she would come out of a wonderful rival for her. She wants to invite Haruna to sparring with her student to arrange a small competition and become stronger together. Nero goes on a trip with her student and hopes Haruna also joins them. The purpose of this expedition is to destroy the so-called Lord of Darkness. Detachments of magical knights are created to combat particularly dangerous monsters who are not able to be ordinary adventurers. On the most difficult tasks, the commander himself leads knights into battle. In reality, Nero deals with all the monsters on his own, and a dangerous expedition turns into a normal walk. Of course, they do not take anyone on the expedition. However, this is an extremely popular event. There are always many people who want to join. Belle also heard that the descendants of noble families are often forced to participate in these journeys, so that they feel a true danger in their own experience. Together with the student Nero, the good was also honored to receive an invitation. Haruna went to the weapons store. Manita was genuinely surprised to learn that Haruna was going to go on a campaign against the owner of the darkness, and was very worried about her. Explained that in this world there are people who announce the appearance of the owner of darkness, as well as those who seem themselves for him. This is a well-known fact. Above all of them stands the real ruler of darkness, Degchima. He is the supreme ruler of all the dark forces. They are called the owners of darkness, but they are not direct enemies of people. It was people who called them monsters. Suddenly Gan appeared. He reported that he fulfilled the order. Del apologized for an unexpected request, but Gan only waved his hand. They say, everything is fine, because he still has a lot of black magic that Harun brought. He created metal shells of black magic ore, ordinary stones and not equal to them. The ore of black magic is able to absorb only one type of force, the one it absorbed for the first time. Ask Dels if their expedition will be too difficult for Haruna. After all, they will have to face the owner of darkness. Dels replies that he is only a self, played Lord of Darkness, and if Harun is nearby, they will not be tight. He remembered how Del and Nero were often visited by his shop. Meanwhile, Del is already going to the next place. They entered the Quaidite magical tools. Here you can find both things created in this country, and rare artifacts found in dungeons. All goods are extremely valuable, so the prices for them are highly high. Haruna began to consider the diversity of these items. Dels began to explain Haruni that these scrolls contain magic. This is another way to master new spells except raising your own level. Extremely powerful magic is hidden inside the scrolls. It is possible to find such artifacts only in the depths of the dungeons, so sometimes their price is equal to the cost of a whole magical book. They came here for the scrolls for Haruna. Del was asked to show scrolls with the magic of darkness up to the 5th. The seller did not surprise that Haruni needed a scroll of level 30. Finally, she was a student of Mr. Della himself. Probably the girl has a remarkable mind. Bruno was very concerned about the fact that scrolls are extremely expensive. Della explained that they are usually used by wealthy people or representatives of the royal family. By selling rare objects, you can quickly get rich. That is why the search for valuable things is one of the main goals of adventure. All unique scrolls are kept under the control of the government, which causes a fierce increase in their value. That is why most of the most influential magicians are wealthy people. There are also those who find scrolls in the dungeons or in the search. Sometimes, thanks to a successful coincidence, they happen exactly the scroll that is the most necessary at this point. Sometimes it happens that uninitiated traders give a valuable scroll for nothing. But in this store, everything is carefully checked. Sometimes they specifically go in search of such inexperienced sellers. Seller Samoyev suggested Haruni's list of artifacts that could come to her. Among all the above, the most suitable were the spell of poisonous fog, the detection of water, and the disposal of mines. They said they buy all 3 scrolls. The seller was frankly surprised. These scrolls usually do not buy. Starting to explain the principle of these operations, the seller was the first to mention the poisonous fog. This spell creates a cloud of poison that covers a large territory. Its strength is small, but the area of the lesion is significant. The disadvantage is that the poison affects everyone but the magician himself, so even allies can be affected by spell. The magician uses a spell that creates a deadly poisonous fluid in his palm. For its level, it is a rather powerful spell, but the liquid can only appear on the hand, which significantly limits its effectiveness. It is difficult to keep enough poison in the palm of your hand, so it is not so easy to apply a spell. Suppression is a spell that affects the victim's mind. After its use, the person loses the ability to make judicious decisions. However, the activation requires a touch, and the magical force of the sorcerer should be quite high. The day of training has ended. The 7th day of training began. Nero said that the expedition would only take place tomorrow, but today she gathered Delsa and Harun. They were waiting for an important business. She was sincerely glad that they responded to her request. She explained that before the expedition, she wanted to check the power of her subordinates. He replied that, in his opinion, there was not enough people for a full team. She noted that if they had taken more people, it would only slow down their movement. In any case, the winner of the darkness was destined to defeat her. Now he wants to introduce them to his student. Del thought that she probably had the best of all this meeting only to boast of it. The name of her student, Chinatsu said. Is this the same Chinatsu, Haruni's girlfriend? The moon immediately recognized the girlfriend and rushed to her. ACCU introduced Adela, and Nero also named his name. Haruna noted that they were really a wonderful team. Now he will present his subordinate. From the command of the Knights Dagon, the 4th-level magician, the 3rd-level magician and canon, which also has the 3rd level of skill. He noticed that Daganov really corresponds to his age, and 2 young magicians are also distinguished by his remarkable abilities. However, Canon was afraid of Nero, and the Muna reached this level mainly thanks to the support of his family. She took the younger ones with her to allow them to gain experience, and Dog often protected them. Muno was opposed to the children to participate in this expedition. He explained that today they gathered only to test their hand, so now they are waiting for training matches. It is announced that the first match will take place between Moon and Dello. Mon accepted the call and promised to justify the trust of his captain, who is proud of him. Cardini is the second son of the aristocratic family of the servant, who from generation to generation retains his traditions and has a high social status. Last year, he graduated from the Magical Academy and proudly joined the ranks of Magical Knights. During the release, he was deeply moved by Captain Nero's speech, but because of confusion with the documents, he could not immediately join the detachment. Captain Nero was also occupied by an expedition and returned only recently, so he only managed to say her personally today. He believes that her look is noble and insightful, and golden hair that gently falls on her shoulders gives her an incredible kind. It resembles a majestic night flower, the perfect embodiment of a mysterious knight. He believes that Del has agreed with his student to monitor Captain Nero. He suggested that Haruna, not him, was the rival Monun. After all, the student's strength speaks of his teacher's skill. Neri did not object to such an idea. A quarrel broke out between Harun and Munun. He wanted to assure Harun that it was not painful and there is no reason to worry. But it was at this moment that his face was intercepted by someone's fist. The rune won the duel, and Chinatsu could not believe that she strengthened. Haruna also assured that she was the merit of her whole team. Haruna was declared, but Harun herself confessed that she would really like to make her own forces with her. Knights were amazed by Haruna's request. Even powerful states do not dare to attack because of the power of Captain Nero. Even the king does not dare to go against her will. Its influence is not inferior to the power of Prime Minister Joseph. They say that she once fought with Deho Chima. But has anyone seen at least once, how does the captain fight for full force? He invented new rules for this match. The moon can use any means and move quietly. Instead, her opponent should stand all the time and not strike. I wonder if Harun will be able to hit the opponent at least once. I warned Harun. If she is about to give up, now is the time. Nair is a completely different rival. Like Harun, she never seems, but is able to instantly intercept the initiative and literally crush the opponent. There is no idea for her. And even if she wanted to surrender, her strength prevails so much that it would lose any meaning. And thank the teacher for his care. Battle between Haruna and Captain Narubigai. I told the cheerful that the fighting of Nero was not at all like others. She can easily overcome even the dark language. It will be good if Haruna is only a slight injury. Rune used her abilities. Smoke broke out of her eyes, which enveloped everything around with a thick cover. Even if someone is able to go through this fog, it is quite safe for people. His radius is small, so it can be dispelled without any risks. But Nero stated that it would remain in place. If so, it could no longer affect this fox. Haruna used a poisonous spell, Misspell. She wants to have nothing left to break. Haruna got the metal shells that Gen made for her. Haruna filled the shells with the magic of darkness and threw them directly into Enver. The moon continuously attacked it from different sides. The moon adds poison to stone balls made of black magic and also makes them heavier. Due to her skillful possession, she can attack with perfect precision. Initially, Nasev decided that she should not unite the spheres, so she caught them with just bare hands. The spheres suddenly began to move on their own. The moon without any difficulty copes with monsters to the 5th level, so she has successfully taken the test. Harunatsu was amazed at how strong Harun became. The Del noted that she also had a great force, because she immediately got into this world with the 5th level. However, Chinatsu noted that she had previously been the 4th level nun. Harun had already caught up with her. Chinatsu decided to make every effort to regain her advantage, but in fact, Harun still had only the 3rd level, so there was nothing to lose. Although Harun loves sports, training is extremely difficult for her. That is why she directs all her perseverance to improving magic, trying to show her abilities in true battles. Chinatsu, as her best girlfriend, knows it well. Azu confirmed that Haruni has always been given training with great difficulty. Soon a call came, and it became clear that China was also a leader among those who mastered magic. This confirmed that the Chinatsu was a truly extraordinary student, and she kept this reputation invariably. She admitted that she was looking forward to sharing her knowledge with her. The moon was much stronger than expected, so she decided to teach the Chinats with all seriousness and dedication. He was already going to go, but Nero stopped him. After all, Today is an important day. Harun and Chinatsu have to strengthen their friendship, so she invites everyone to stay with her. As a result, everyone had to go home. So they found themselves in the night. The T and the ZA were stunned by the luxury of the estate and the number of servants. They were also impressed with the chic dinner they were served. For dinner, Nero invited Dell to her home to enjoy good wine together. He realized that from the very beginning, her true goal was to lure him in any way under the pretext of dinner or wine. When they were adventurers, similar meetings happened often, and in the morning, they were sorry. Nero also wanted to finally take at least some responsibility. Showed the characteristics of the Chinas at the moment when she realized during the battle what were the indicators of Haruna. There was an extremely high level of endurance, but no skill that could strengthen this indicator. In addition, a cheerful one who was well known on different skills, he noted that she gives high hopes and almost reached the 5th level. Dills and Nero continued to drink together, as in the old good times, rejoicing in the future achievement of their students. So the 7th day of training ended, and Neri woke up in the same bed. Both confessed that they did not remember anything. Since each of them has not tasted alcohol for a long time, they had to navigate the card. Suddenly the door knocked. It was a maid. She reported Ms. Nerov that breakfast is ready. In the meantime, the Dell dressed and said he would get out through the window. And Neri he recalled to hurry up not to be late and not raise suspicion. He suggested that Neri try again, but she just replied that she would think about it. It has passed some time. The whole team was already completely ready for the expedition, and told the Della that he could not restrain the excitement. As it should be expected, she was not worried at all. She thought why no one ever told her a place or any details of this expedition. How far do they go to hunt? Who confirmed that they did not know anything about it? Everyone began to argue that they are now heading to a fortress located near the border of their country, the Kingdom of Adelhoit, and another neighboring state. It has been reported that 2 groups of monsters appeared nearby, each led by his self-proclaimed Lord of Darkness. I was convinced that Lord Darkness was only one. I assured her that the appearance of 2 Lords of Darkness would not change anything. She then added that according to their information, both Lords of Darkness belongs to the goblins and orcs, namely, their King of the Goblin and the King of Orc. Other creatures are often joined to their flocks, such as ogre or boars. They already know about the existence of each other and are currently working together. Both people and monsters have their roles in the world. For example, wolf-type monsters perform hunters. When their level of skill increases, they can evolve. But species such as goblins or orcs are able to use tools and choose a much wider range of classes. They announced that they would meet the enemy face to face and destroy everyone to the last. Every monster that happens in the way should be killed immediately. He is convinced that the camp is just in the middle of the battlefield is the perfect solution. The Kingdom of Adelgate has long maintained close relations with the western border state Zarni. The Holgite Kingdom is small in size. It has long been famous for the art of magic and the production of magic artifacts. This is often the desired prey for stronger states. Instead, Zarya has wide, fertile lands and is rich in cereals. Trade between these countries helps them to strengthen relationships and develop together. Olguide supplies charming objects with food. They also take an active part in various events, organize joint training for knights and warriors, and also engage in the exchange of valuable knowledge and experience. The characters went on, only sometimes making short stops at a break and a snack. Muni said to be responsible for cooking, but in the end the dish came out so unsuccessful that it was difficult to call food. Harry instantly calculated the amount of food that can be used on this day, taking into account all available stocks. At night, the NAC and Chinatsu were caught by Garin, which fell asleep with Dells. Dells explained to them, but the girls were in no hurry to believe Herd. Dells remembered how Garun was sleeping next to her yesterday. She told Nero that she had always fallen asleep with her dog before, hugging him firmly, and that's how she felt happy. Now these warm memories have remained with her. She noted that she could not change anything at the time, but warned Della did not do anything that could cause misunderstanding. So the 8th day of training ended. Bruno rejoiced that they finally got to their destination. He always went to meet the garrison unit. They were met by Janet, the commander of this fortress and the mentor of Rai. It controls the defense of the fortress from the side of the Tuzaria. She immediately stated that she planned to fight on her own without assistance. They will solve all the difficulties with the team on their own. She introduced her friend. She was surprised that she met Adela, known as Black Table, who seemed to have completed her career. But even more surprised was that Janet knew about it. Janet was convinced that they were completely able to handle their own. It began to talk about the current situation. Two groups continue to recruit goblins and orcs on the road and gradually approach from the north and south, increasing their strength each time. According to the information collected, subordinates call. After explanations, Nero with his comrades went to equip their camp. They decided to try their hand. Smoke in the sky testified to the presence of people, and the smell of fried meat was attracted to the monsters. In other words, Nero in mind, the monsters to the camp. Thanks to this, they will be able to support well, reduce the threat to the fortress and surrounding villages, and the enemies will come straight to them. I was surprised that Naya managed to come up with such a plan so quickly. Previously, she would just rush into the frontal attack. He began to distribute responsibilities between everyone. The army of the King of Orcs, which came from the south, had to restrain Nero, and Haruna, along with Chinatsu, took up the army of King Goblin from the north. Bells will accompany them as a defender. Kenan and Daganov will remain in the camp to take care of all the preparations. She promised to bring them carcasses, and they only had to cook meat. The girls were enthusiastically revived and were ready to work. Cells began to explain to girls that Goblin is a demonic kind of people who are famous for their meat. They are easy to recognize by green skin and baby growth. Goblins are weaker than an ordinary person, do not differ in mind and rarely live to old age. However, their striking reproduction ability does not allow to completely destroy these creatures, no matter how many hunters are pursued by their day and night. The reason for this is the extraordinary fertility of the goblins. At one time, they give birth to a large number of babies, and their pregnancy is very short. Because of this, goblins, which are usually focused on only a few locals, become a real headache for adventure seekers. The only one who differs dramatically among others is the 4th-level goblin. As it seems to be his status, he wears a crown and a mantle. Despite the fact that his language is a polygon, he can still communicate. After learning new details, they decided. Everyone was surprised how skillfully the Kep and Nero was preparing. Chinatsu confessed that she did not even expect such a teacher. This was laughing, which joked that it was the greatest experience in cooking among all those present. Because during their travels, she always took it for cooking. Haruna was tired of reading and suddenly exclaimed that she really wanted to get them. He said it was time to stop and asked if this decision was too hurried. They only met yesterday. Does Haruna seem that he may be trapped? Meanwhile, King Goblin has already approached the camp of our heroes. Goblins use doubles to hide the true number of their army. Others consider them a common flock of monsters, but in fact their power is so powerful that it is able to destroy the whole country. The King of Goblin at the very end was called Goblin Hero. He wondered how to act on a human camp that was ahead. It could be a trap or ambush. What to do to him? Goblin Hero assured the king, there is nothing to worry about. Even if people do not believe the information they receive, it still does not hold them back. Perhaps only the legendary captain of Nero would be able to interfere with them seriously. In this case, the Goblin Hero will be forced to fight. The king remained dissatisfied with this decision. He noted that the hero would not immediately come into battle. The orcs will come from the south, and even if people still remain, they can clamp them in the vice. King Goblin is forced to think strategically. He apologizes to the hero. The Goblin Hero noted that it should at least look at them. After that, the detachment, as planned, will oppose people. The king understood everything and immediately gave the appropriate order. Many believe that goblins and orcs are fighting with each other, but in fact they have united to capture the border fortress and strengthen their army. It was for this purpose that the hero trained Goblin and made an alliance with the orcs. King Goblin reported that they managed to identify 3 opponents. The hero of Goblin suggested that there was a captain of Nero among people. If they showed her torn head, the enemy's fighting spirit would instantly fall to 0. After the order to go into battle and attack with all force, this red-skinned goblin was distinguished among others. He became the first goblin in history to win the title of hero and reach the 6th level. He was nicknamed the Hero. She was surprised by the number of goblins, but at the same time it was comforted. They said that the equipment was not bad, but there were no complaints about theft. It looks like goblins had their own blacksmith. She was very worried, because it was her first battle. She assured that her level and characteristics are much higher than Haruna, so she has nothing to fear the average goblin. Despite the number of enemies, there was always a reliable girlfriend next to Tinats, ready to support her in battle. She thanked the Dell and confessed that she was feeling much better. The magic of light renewal soothes the mind and balances emotions while touching. Its complete opposite is the magic of darkness, which, on the contrary, causes serious suffering. He also encouraged Haruna, assuring that she would definitely reach the 4th level today. However, he advised not to perceive it as entertainment, but to focus on the battle and to stand on 100%. It was full of energy and was completely ready for battle. In the battle, Del used a reconciliation spell to activate regeneration and second breath. Regeneration enables the targets to automatically restore health. It is opened at the 40th level of light magic. The second breath protects against negative status effects and becomes available at the 80th level of light magic. She did not delay and first went on the attack, releasing the poisonous fog directly on the goblin. Goblin did not delay and replied immediately, calling for the help of light magic. The spear is a combat spell that opens at the 50th level of light magic. There will be nothing alive after you. She was passionate about it, was incredible. But now it was time to demonstrate her abilities. The girl got a metal ball. Gathering all her strength, she threw the ball into Goblin. The ball hit the target, and suddenly flashes began to explode around. He could not believe that Haruna had dealt with so many goblins with only one throw. She noticed that the ammunition was getting an end, so she decided to break through to the front in order to gather still suitable shells. She began to wave her staff. The archers brought her meadows on her, but Chinazo managed to cover her. Suddenly Ogra appeared. Chinazo was not frightened and immediately prepared to repel. She rushes rapidly with a shiny spear in her hand, but Ogri cleverly evade her stroke. The hero from Dublin noticed outbreaks of light magic and concluded that there was a captain named Nero among people. However, they are not able to support her magic. The king exclaimed that the 3 hugs were killed. Someone destroyed them in melee. Only he was able to seize that weapon, so he has to kill Captain Nero, and with the rest, let the king be disassembled. He noted that incredibly, Chinatsu was able to defeat 3 bugs on his own. Meanwhile, a hero appeared on the battlefield. He addressed Harun and asked if she was a captain of Nero. Haruna shook her head and replied that it was not. The hero came to the conclusion that her plan was to deny his involvement in Captain Nero. He has never met goblin of this type. She assured that she would handle herself and asked everyone to leave him for her. The Dublin hero ordered his soldiers to go to the point of collection, destroying everyone who happened to them in the way. They only had to move forward without stopping for a moment. The hero discovered his characteristics. Despite the fact that he was only 12 years old, his additional parameters were striking. Fire magic and sword possession have already reached 100% level of skill.